Hola, my name is Olga Loya, and I'm a cuentacuentos, a storyteller. And we're going to be playing together. We're going to do some storytelling games, and you're going to be telling some stories. I'm going to tell some stories, and we're going to just play. But first, we're going to sing a song. I'll sing first, you sing after me. Bienvenidos a todos. Vamos a escuchar. Vamos a contar todos juntos. Welcome, everyone. We are going to listen. We are going to tell all together, all together. Well, the first game that we're going to play is a game called To Tell the Truth. There's a TV show like that, or was one. And the way you play this game is 3 people get up in front of the audience. In your case, it'd be your familia. 3 people get in front of the familia. But everybody gets in groups of 3s. They tell a little tiny story. Not too long. Everybody tells a story. One person tells it, the other person tells it, the other person tells it. And then, from the 3, this group picks one story to tell. So then they all learn the same story as though it happened to them. So let's go over that again. Everybody tells a little story, each one. 1, 2, 3 stories. Then you pick, in the 3, you pick the one that you want to work on. Then everybody tells a story as though it happened to them. Then the next part is, you get in front of the audience and you all tell that same story. And the audience has to figure out whose story it is. So let me give you an example. Say I got together with 2 other people. We whispered a little story. We decided on a story. We come in front of the audience and Joe says, I used to live, my family, we lived in a duplex. There were 4 duplexes. And on Saturdays there'd be parties. And there'd be food and drinking. And sometimes people drank too much. And they'd get into fights. One morning I went out and I saw blood, drops of blood, going up the road. Then Maria tells that same story. My family lived in some duplexes. There was 6 duplexes altogether. And every Saturday we'd have a big fiesta. Sometimes there'd even be a conjunto, a band there. And people would drink and laugh and dance. So lots and lots of dancing. And I was 4 at the time, and my brother, my brother was 2, and we'd be out there, and I loved it. But then they'd make us go to bed. And we'd go to bed and sleep. But one night I woke up and I heard this sound. It sounded like people were fighting. They were yelling and screaming. And the next morning when I got up, I went outside and I saw drops of blood. A 3rd person. My family lived in a duplex. And there were a whole bunch of duplexes together. And there'd be parties every Saturday. Every Saturday. And there'd be comida, tamales, and arroz, and frijoles. And people would get up and they would fight, they would dance, and they would talk and laugh. And sometimes people drank too much. Well, when I was little, I was about 4 at the time, they made us go to bed. I didn't want to go to bed, but they made me go to bed. I wanted to stay up and listen to everybody. So I went to bed. In the middle of the night, I heard sounds, chunk, chunk, chunk. Fist against fist, fist against face. And that morning when I got up, I went out and I walked along and there were drops of blood. Now, whose story is that? Joe's, Maria's, or mine? That was my story. And my story, when I did that, I put too much detail into it, so you knew it was mine. So if you want to trick somebody, you don't put as much detail into the story. And just make it very simple. Or somebody, maybe the other one, tells the story with a lot of detail in it, as though it's their story. So they might say, I used to live in a duplex, and a bunch of duplexes were all around. And every Saturday we'd get together, and there'd be food and drink and laughing, and I loved to go, and there were other kids there, and we'd all play together, and sometimes people drank too much, but most of the time it was all right. But one night I was asleep, and I was awakened by a sound. It sounded like a fist hitting skin, like I didn't know what it was. I got up and I looked out the window, and I saw two men fighting. They were fighting hard, and one of them got a bloody nose, and he went up the road with that bloody nose. Next morning I got up and I went out, and I could see these drops of blood. So if somebody told that story, they would think it was their story. But somebody else who wanted to trick them would go, I used to live in a duplex. There was 4, maybe 6, maybe 8 condos of duplexes. And every Saturday, or was it Sunday? So you mess it up, and they'll think it's not yours. So what you're trying to do is trick them, and this game is called To Tell the Truth. Now, there's another game. Well, actually, we're going to do a game of voice throw. So with this game, you go in a circle, and somebody throws their name across the room. You want to hit them in the chest with that name. You don't want to have to fall in front of them. You don't want them to fall behind them. So if you say, Olga, it's going to fall in front of them. You say, Olga! It's going to go over the other side. If you say, Olga, go right direct. So you go around the room, and everybody says their name and tries to hit somebody across the room with their name. So because when you're telling stories, you want to have it loud enough for people to hear you, but not loud and not loud. And sometimes you can go soft for emphasis. Like you could go, she was running down the road, and suddenly she saw a big. So there is that, and then quiet, and then big. So you can do that. That's called pacing. You can pace it, and use your voice to pace it. So standing in a circle, you have your name. You throw that name, and you try to hit that person on the chest, and you say, Olga. Too far? Olga! Not far enough? Olga. Everybody goes around and throws their name to another person until everybody does it. And you can listen to see how the voice, what happens with the voice, and you can have it happen in lots of different ways. So that's a voice throw. You can also do it sideways. Olga, 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 Olga. And see what happens with that. Olga, 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 Olga. Go around the circle and try and change the inflection. Olga, 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 Olga. Can you see what's happening? Changing the different inflections and going up and down. So you can use your voice. So everybody, let's practice that. You practice going around in a circle. Everybody says it a different way, and you can do it with each name, and you get to hear what happens with your name. Let me do another name. How about Robert? Robert. 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 See what's happening with my voice? Robert, 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 going over. So there's lots of different ways of using your voice and inflecting your voice. So when you're throwing your voice, you can learn how to use your voice so that the audience can really hear you. Because if you're too soft, they can't hear you. If you're too loud, they can't hear you. You want it to be able so they can get right to them. Now, when you're telling stories, we talked about it at another workshop. You have characters, the characters in a story. And the character of the stories of that little story that we did there was me, and it was me really. And so you just, how would I walk? How would I talk? I was little, so I would walk differently. Now, if you have an older woman, lots of times they have little old women. They go, oh, she was walking along. Well, I'm an older woman, and I don't walk like that. So you can't make stereotypes about people. You have to think about who your character is. How would they walk? Is she proud? You walk around with your back straight. Maybe let's do this. What you do, you walk in a circle. You walk back straight. Then you walk with your nose out. Your nose leading you. With your chest leading you. With your stomach leading you. With your knees leading you. All of them is a different walk. You walk low to the ground, high to the ground, soft, so hard, big walks, little tiny steps. All of them can be a character. So you might have, to my grandmother, she was tiny. So she walked with little tiny steps because she was short, 5 feet tall. But she walked with her back straight and her head up because she was a very powerful woman, even though she was short. So she walks very carefully. And she was constantly moving. She was one of these people that didn't sit down very long. So she'd be moving this way, moving that way, moving this way, but always with her back straight, feet moving, small little steps. Now my grandfather, he was big. He was 6 feet tall, stood straight, and he walked with big steps. So if you think about who your character is, how do they walk? How do they talk? How do they move? So when you're telling the story, you can help the audience see the character that you're talking about. So now I want to do a different thing, another game. This is a very interesting game, I think. It's called The Foreign Storyteller. And what we start first is with gibberish. And I didn't realize how hard it is for people to do gibberish, but it is. So gibberish is like, you're not talking in syllables. You're not talking in words. So when I first started this game, I would have them do the gibberish, and I realized that people had a hard time with that. So I'd start with the gibberish. So I'd ask them first to talk with each other in gibberish. Then I'd ask one to do something and see if the other one could figure out what it was. So I'm going to do some for you. What was that? Putting lipstick on, huh? What was that? Combing my hair. What's that? Putting mascara on. How about this? Baseball. So you can practice all these different things. You look and see. So you're using your body to show what you're doing. Another one would be, let me see if I can think of one that to show you. Putting on a blouse. So you do all that first, and then the game starts. And the game goes like this. One person is a storyteller. The other person is the interpreter. They say what the storyteller is saying. And then the audience picks 3 objects. Let's do a ball. Let's see, a ball. See what else? A ball, a mirror. Which one more? A ball, a mirror, a brush. Okay? So the foreign stellar gets up, and the translator introduces them. So I'll do both right now. So I'm the translator. I would welcome everyone. I want to invite you all to listen to a storyteller today. She is from Serbia, very, very famous in Serbia. And she's going to be telling you a story, and I'm going to be translating. And then the storyteller goes, oh, and then don't forget there's a ball, and the mirror. And what was the other one? Oh, combing your hair. Okay. Once there was a woman who always liked to look in her mirror. She was always combing her hair, getting her hair just right. But one day she was walking and a ball hit her right in the face. She was mad and she bounced that ball. She didn't know what to do with it. Well, she picked up the ball and she threw it as far as she could. But the ball came back and hit her. She took that ball and she went home. So that's the foreign storyteller. So let's do it one more time with different objects. Let's see, what can we use for different objects? A book. Let's see, what else? I wish you were here to help me. A book. I can't think of anything. A book. A pencil. And a piece of paper. Okay. Book, pencil, paper. So here's a translator. Welcome, everyone. I want to invite you to hear this storyteller from Mexico. She's going to tell you a story. And I'm the storyteller. So it was a book, a paper, and a pencil. So, once there was a woman who was a writer, and every day she got up and she wrote. And she loved this particular pencil. She loved it. She had to have that pencil. And she had special paper. She would take that pencil and write on it. But one day, as she was writing, all of a sudden a wind came by and blew the paper away. She had went looking for it, chasing after it, and finally she found it. She got it. She wrote and she wrote and she wrote. She wrote some more. And she wrote a book. And she was very, very happy. So that's the foreign storyteller. So you can do that with, and it's pretty funny. One time I did it, we did it, and with a guy who was the storyteller was doing his gibberish, right? And the translator, so he went, whatever it was, and then the translator translated, and the one who was telling the story and turned and looked at him and said, "That's not what I was saying." So he obviously didn't get the idea of the name, the game. So that's foreign storyteller. And then to tell the truth. And then we have to think about throwing your voice and see what happens with it. And trying different inflections and ways of doing it. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a round robin. And the way that you do the round robin is you go around. Guess what? With just one word. We're going to do one round robin today, and then the next time we'll do a different kind of round robin. But you go around and you say, once there was a boy. The boy. It takes a long time and it's hard to do. You want to put words into it, but you want to make sense. Okay. Once there was a boy. Funny, so it doesn't fit, right? Once there was a boy who went to the garden. Dog. No, that doesn't fit, does it? So it means that you have to listen to what the person said before you. You can't have a word because you don't know what the person in front of you is going to say. So it means that you have to pay attention, stay focused, so that you can have the next word in there. So let's try it right now. Once there was a girl, period. And you don't have to put the period in. She loved to swim. One day she went to the river. She jumped into the water. See, I was already going to do 2 words. Into the water. She saw a beautiful fish. She swam along with the fish. Every day she went to the river and swam with that beautiful fish. So that's a whole little story right there with only 1 word. And so in the next session we're going to do it with sentences, and then we're going to play some other games. So now what I'd like to go over, just what we did today. We did to tell the truth. 3 people. First, each one tells a story. They pick the story, and then they tell the same story. One time I had a little boy, and he never talked. But when we played this game, his story was chosen, and he was so pleased that he told the story. My teacher said that was the first time he'd ever talked in front of the class. So sometimes stories can bring people out when you're not expecting it. So we did that. Then we did the voice throw. And then we did the thing about talking about inflection. Olga, 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 Olga. So we did the foreign storyteller with a gibberish, picking 3 items, easy items that you can see, like a book, a ball, a bat, a comb, so that it's easier to see. And then you have a storyteller, you have the translator, story does gibberish, translator translate, and the gibberish doesn't do a whole bunch, just a little bit, so that the storyteller can do it, and everybody can do this. It's really fun. And then the 1 word round robin, just 1 word. It's hard to do 1 word, and it's hard to pay attention to what the story is doing so that you can keep the story going. So those are all things that you can do. So we're going to stop now, and we're going to sing goodbye. Adiós a todos. Hemos escuchado, hemos contado, todos juntos. Goodbye, everyone. We have listened, we have told, all together, all together. See you the next time.